Hold on, Steelers Nation, because what just went down in Pittsburgh is absolutely massive. If you thought this front office was just going to sit back and relax heading into the final stretch of the season, you were dead wrong. We're talking multiple roster moves, practice squad additions, veteran signings straight to the active roster, and a chess match being played at the highest level. This is win now mode, people. The AFC North is on the line, the playoffs are staring us in the face, and Mike Tomlin's squad just showed everyone they're not playing games. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because we're bringing you daily Steelers breakdowns, roster updates, and the kind of analysis you won't find anywhere else. Let's dive into what could be the most important roster moves of the entire season. So here's what happened. According to the official NFL transaction wire that dropped earlier this week, the Pittsburgh Steelers brought in a dozen players for workouts on Tuesday. 12. That's not a small number, folks. When you're bringing in that many bodies for evaluation in late December, it sends a very clear message. This team is hunting for every possible advantage. They're looking for depth. They're looking for specialists. They're looking for guys who can step in immediately and contribute when the lights are brightest. Out of those 12 players, 8 were offensive guys and 4 were defensive. The Steelers coaching staff put them through their paces, evaluated their film, checked their conditioning, and made some critical decisions. And by the end of the day, multiple players had earned contracts. This wasn't just kicking tires. This was serious business. Let's start with the offensive line because if you've been watching Steelers football this season, you know how absolutely critical that trenches battle has been. Pittsburgh signed a young offensive lineman named Daniels to the practice squad, and before you dismiss this as just another depth move, hear me out. This kid is 25 years old, which means he's still in that prime developmental window. He spent 3 years starting at Utah, and we're not talking about some small school program here. Utah plays in the Pac-12, one of the toughest conferences in college football. In his final 2 seasons with the Utes, Daniels earned second-team All-Pac-12 honors one year and then first-team All-Pac-12 the next. That's legitimate production against top-tier competition. He was going up against future NFL defensive linemen week after week and holding his own. Washington saw that potential and drafted him in the 4th round of the 2023 draft, 118th overall. He signed a 4-year rookie deal worth $4.59 million. That's real money for a 4th-rounder, which tells you the Commanders valued what he brought to the table. Unfortunately, injuries completely derailed his rookie campaign. He couldn't stay healthy, couldn't get on the field, and eventually found himself bouncing around practice squads. He's been with the Texans, the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. All of those teams saw something they liked enough to bring him in, but he just hasn't caught that break yet. His college resume is impressive, though. 49 games played, 43 career starts. That's a lot of experience, a lot of snaps against high-level competition. Here's the thing. He hasn't appeared in a single NFL game yet, but this is exactly the type of player Pittsburgh loves to develop. They take these guys with pedigree, with college production, who just need the right system and the right coaching. And with how physical football gets in December and potentially January, you can never have too much offensive line depth. One injury, one guy gets worn down, and suddenly you're calling on someone who wasn't even on the roster a week ago. The Steelers are being smart here, stashing talent just in case. Now let's flip to the defensive side of the ball because Pittsburgh also added an edge rusher, and in today's NFL, you can never have enough pass rush. They signed Anderson, a 27-year-old edge defender who originally came into the league as an undrafted free agent with the New York Giants back in 2022. Now, undrafted doesn't mean untalented. Every single year, undrafted guys come in and carve out legitimate NFL careers. Anderson actually saw real playing time during his rookie season with the Giants. In 2022, he appeared in 7 games and put up 8 tackles and 2 sacks. 2 sacks as an undrafted rookie is nothing to sneeze at. That shows he can get after the quarterback when given the opportunity. After his time in New York, he bounced to the Saints, signed a futures deal there, but was released this past April. So he's been out of football for most of this season, staying ready, staying in shape, waiting for his next opportunity. And now Pittsburgh is giving him that shot. Why does this matter? Because pass rush depth is absolutely critical, especially late in the season. Think about how many snaps T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith have logged this year. Think about the pounding those guys take week after week. Their bodies are worn down, they're dealing with little nicks and bruises, and the opposition is scheming specifically to neutralize them. Having fresh legs that can come in on third down and provide even just a little bit of pressure can be the difference between a punt and a first down. Anderson brings experience, he's got NFL production on his resume, and he knows what it takes to survive at this level. This is depth. This is rotation. This is insurance. And in a playoff race this tight, you need all of that. But here's the move that really has everyone talking. The move that tells you just how serious Pittsburgh is about these next 2 weeks. The Steelers signed veteran defensive back Trey Flowers directly to the 53-man roster. Not the practice squad, the active roster. That means he's eligible to play immediately. That means the coaching staff sees an immediate need and believes he can fill it. So, who is Trey Flowers, and why should Steelers Nation care? This guy is 30 years old, stands 6'3", weighs 203 pounds, and has played in 97 career NFL games. Let that sink in for a second. 97 games. That's over 6 full seasons worth of experience. He's seen everything the NFL can throw at him. He was originally a 5th-round pick of the Seattle Seahawks back in 2018, and he came in and started as a rookie. He started again in 2019, which was actually his best statistical season. That year, he put up 82 tackles, 3 interceptions, 8 passes defended, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Those are legitimate starting cornerback numbers. After his time in Seattle, he's journeyed around the league. He spent time with the Bengals, where he developed a reputation as a tight end coverage specialist. Then he went to the Falcons, the Jaguars, the Colts, and most recently the Lions, where he appeared in 2 games this season before being released. So he's been in a game recently, he knows the speed of the current NFL, and he's ready to contribute. Now here's why this signing is absolutely brilliant when you look at the schedule. Who are the Steelers about to face in these next 2 critical games? The Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. And what do both of those teams feature? Elite tight end weapons. Cleveland has David Njoku, who's one of the most athletic tight ends in the entire league. And they've also got Harrison Bryant, who can move the chains. Baltimore has Mark Andrews, who's a future Hall of Famer, and Isaiah Likely, who's emerged as a legitimate dual-threat option. These are not easy matchups. Trey Flowers has built his entire career on covering tight ends. That's his specialty. That's what he does better than almost anything else. He has the size at 6'3" to match up physically. He has the experience to understand route concepts and not get fooled by play action, and he has the instincts to make plays on the ball when it's in the air. This is not a coincidence. The Steelers didn't just randomly sign a veteran DB. They identified a specific problem, a specific matchup concern, and they addressed it with a guy who has the exact skill set needed. That's high-level roster management. That's what winning organizations do. Think about the secondary situation heading into last weekend's game against Detroit. Joey Porter Jr. was banged up. There were injury concerns across the board. Younger guys who weren't even on the radar at the start of the season were being forced into action. That's not sustainable in a playoff push. You need veterans who've been there before, who won't panic when things get chaotic, and who can execute the game plan without needing their hand held. Flowers brings all of that, and if he can neutralize Njoku this weekend in Cleveland and then help contain Andrews and Likely in the season finale against Baltimore, this signing will have paid for itself 10 times over. Now let's talk about the offensive side of things, because there was another reunion that has Steelers fans pretty excited. Pittsburgh brought back wide receiver Brandon Johnson, a guy who already knows this system, already has chemistry with the quarterbacks, and already understands what's expected. Johnson was with the team earlier this season before being released, and now he's back because the receiver room got thin in a hurry. His career numbers are solid for a depth piece: 26 catches, 335 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That touchdown number jumps out, doesn't it? 5 touchdowns on just 26 catches means he's got serious red zone ability. He knows how to find space in tight quarters, and he's got reliable hands when the ball comes his way. In fact, 4 of those 5 touchdowns came in 2023 alone, so he's shown he can produce recently. With injuries and availability questions swirling around some of the other receivers, bringing back Johnson makes a ton of sense. He already knows Arthur Smith's offensive system, which is huge this late in the season. There's no learning curve. He can walk into the facility, get the game plan, and execute. He already has relationships with the guys in the locker room, so there's no awkward adjustment period. And he knows the expectations that come with playing receiver in Pittsburgh. You need to block in the run game. You need to be physical. You need to make the tough catch in traffic. Johnson checks all those boxes. And if Calvin Austin is dealing with that hamstring issue, if any of the other receivers have setbacks, Johnson can step right in and contribute. He's insurance. He's depth. And in a playoff race, depth wins championships. So let's zoom out for a second and talk about what all of these moves mean in the bigger picture. The Steelers currently sit at 10-6 after that tough loss to Detroit. Wait, let me correct that. They're 9-6 heading into a massive Week 17 showdown in Cleveland. The Baltimore Ravens are right on their heels, and the AFC North title is completely up for grabs. Here's the beautiful part, though. If Pittsburgh can win just one of their final 2 games, or if Baltimore drops one of theirs, the Steelers clinch the division. That's it. One win and the North belongs to Pittsburgh. But nothing is guaranteed, especially when you're heading to Cleveland. Let's talk about that Browns matchup because it is absolutely treacherous. Cleveland might not have the record of a playoff team, but their defense is absolutely elite. Their pass defense is ranked number 1 in the entire NFL. Number 1. They're allowing just 127.8 passing yards per game at home. That's suffocating. To put that in perspective, Josh Allen, who's an MVP frontrunner, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, went into Cleveland last week and threw for only 130 yards. 130. They completely took away the passing game and forced Buffalo to win on the ground. And it's not just the secondary. The Browns have arguably the best edge rusher on the planet in Myles Garrett. This man is 1 sack away from breaking the single-season sack record. He's been absolutely unblockable down the stretch. And if you've been watching Steelers games, you know the quarterback has been under pressure. He's been sacked in 6 of the last 7 games. That's a troubling trend, and now he's going up against a guy who's hunting history. The weather could also be a major factor. Rain is expected in Cleveland on Sunday. December football in the AFC North is already brutal, but add in rain, add in a slick ball, add in all that chaos, and it becomes an absolute street fight. Whoever can run the football, control the line of scrimmage, and win the turnover battle is going to come out on top. That's why depth matters. That's why these roster moves matter. If your starting offensive lineman goes down and you don't have a capable backup, your entire game plan falls apart. If you can't get pressure on the opposing quarterback because your edge rushers are gassed, you're in trouble. If you can't cover the tight end and they're converting every 3rd down, you're going to lose. Pittsburgh understands this, and they just took steps to make sure they're as prepared as possible. Looking ahead to the Ravens game in Week 18, that one could very well decide the division if both teams win this weekend. Baltimore has been on fire lately. Lamar Jackson is playing at an MVP level. Derrick Henry is running like he's 25 again. That defense is flying around making plays, but the Steelers have owned this rivalry under Mike Tomlin. They don't back down. They play physical. They make it ugly. And at home in front of the Heinz Field crowd, Acrisure Stadium crowd, anything can happen. That's why adding a tight end specialist like Trey Flowers is so crucial. Mark Andrews is going to get his targets. The question is whether Pittsburgh can limit the damage and make Lamar beat them with contested throws instead of easy completions to his security blanket. Steelers fans on social media have been absolutely fired up about these moves. You're seeing comments like, "Finally, the front office is being aggressive," and "This is what championship teams do." There's a real sense that this isn't just about making the playoffs. This is about winning the division, getting that home game in the wild card round, and making a legitimate run. Nobody wants to back into the playoffs as a wild card and have to go on the road immediately. Winning the North means you control your own destiny. It means you get to play at home where the crowd is deafening and the opponent is uncomfortable. It means you have a legitimate shot at hosting a playoff game in January, which in Pittsburgh is an enormous advantage. Some analysts have questioned whether these moves are too little too late, whether the team should have been more aggressive earlier in the season. But here's the reality. The salary cap is real. Roster spots are limited. You can't just sign everybody. You have to be strategic about when you make your moves, and making them now when you can evaluate exactly what your needs are based on injuries and performance makes a lot of sense. The Steelers have identified gaps, they've filled them with experienced players who fit specific roles, and now it's up to the coaching staff to put these guys in position to succeed. One of the most exciting aspects of these signings is the message it sends to the locker room. It tells the players that management believes in this team. It tells them that the organization is willing to invest resources and roster spots to give them the best chance to win. That kind of institutional support matters. Players notice when the front office is aggressive and when they're passive. They notice when ownership is willing to spend money and when they're pinching pennies. These moves show that everyone from the top down believes this team can make noise in January, and that belief can be contagious. The practice squad additions might not seem glamorous, but they serve a critical purpose. These guys push the starters in practice every single day. They run the opponent's plays on the scout team so the defense can prepare. They provide competition and depth in case of emergency. And sometimes, just sometimes, one of these guys breaks through and becomes a legitimate contributor. It's happened before in Pittsburgh, and it'll happen again. That offensive lineman from Utah could be the next success story. That edge rusher could catch fire at exactly the right moment. You just never know. As we head into this final 2-game stretch, the margin for error is razor thin. One bad turnover, one missed assignment, one injury at the wrong time, and the entire season could slip away. But that's what makes December football so captivating. The stakes are enormous. Every snap matters. Every decision by the coaching staff gets magnified. And every player has to bring their absolute best because there's no tomorrow if you lose. The Steelers have put themselves in position to control their own fate, and these roster moves give them the depth and versatility to navigate whatever challenges come their way. So Steelers Nation, buckle up. The next 2 weeks are going to be an absolute roller coaster. We've got a trip to Cleveland in hostile territory against a defense that's absolutely elite. Then we've got a potential division-deciding showdown with Baltimore. The playoffs are right there. The AFC North title is within reach, and this team just showed they're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join a community of real Steelers fans who live and breathe this team. We're pushing for 500 subscribers, and we need your help to get there. Every like, every comment, every share helps us grow and bring you more content. This is Steelers football at its finest, and we're here for every single moment. Let's go get this division title, let's make some noise in the playoffs, and let's show the entire NFL that Pittsburgh is still a force to be reckoned with. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.